Good evening. This is Maestro with a Dawn of War 2 Retribution Elite Mountcast. Today, we have a Best-of-5 Faction War series between the Imperial Guard and the Ordo Malleus. We'll begin on Estia Province for our first map, and we'll also begin with Vohlrim here, playing as the Lord General. This is a support commander for the Imperial Guard, has area of effect buffs for his own squads. Inekura will be up next, playing as the Inquisitor. This is a melee and spellcasting control hero for the Imperial Guard, and we will finish up the Imperial Guard with SgtSmith playing as the Lord Commissar. Slightly tanky melee hero, free energy shield, and the ability to execute his own troops to make them fight harder. Next up, we're going to have, on the side of the Ordo Malleus, ... will begin as a Brother Captain. This is a tanky melee hero that cannot be knocked down or suppressed. Can also buff speed and defense. Hutsy going to be playing as the Demon Hunter. Not exactly something that you see commonly. He is a spellcasting and control hero for the Ordo Malleus, often seen as underpowered and will be receiving some buffs in the near future. And finally, Corr will round things out with yet another Brother Captain of the Ordo Malleus. Alright then, so Sentinel taking some shots at that Demon Hunter who's trying to move in on the Guardsman. Guardsman will be forced into a retreat, and oh boy, we see Inekura loving his Sentinels. I believe in one of the last faction wars that we saw him with a triple Sentinel build. Here he's only got double Sentinel, but double Sentinel, I actually personally see that as potentially being pretty oppressive against the Ordo Malleus. Sentinel, just pretty inherently strong in Tier 1 because it's the only Tier 1 vehicle in the game. That means you have a unit that can tank without, I'm trying to look for the right word, without incurring, there it is, without incurring any bleed on your own part, as long as you manage it correctly. And often, you know, to really deal with the Sentinel pressure, some races are better at dealing with the Sentinel pressure than others. The ones that tend to deal with it better tend to just have more raw range damage. And, you know, we generally see fairly ranged heavy openings out of the Ordo Malleus, but they don't quite actually have the raw numbers per squad the way some of the other squads in this game do. So, for example, Stormtroopers, Inquisitorial Stormtroopers, they don't quite have DPS as a squad that matches up to, say, Shoota Boys or even Dire Avengers. So I don't foresee the Ordo Malleus having as good pressure against the Imperial Guard on their Sentinel in Tier 1. So I think it's going to be more about them just kind of holding out to Tier 2 and seeing how they can bring back the game later. That being said, it's a victory point lead for the Imperial Guard, possibly off of some of that Sentinel pressure that I have been talking about. I think it might take something like maybe if two of the Ordo Malleus players group up, that might help them to have enough range damage to really put the pressure on one of the Sentinels. Unfortunately, Demon Hunter approaching by himself, definitely not going to be that pressure. But yeah, we just see the way here. The Stormtroopers, they're just so squishy for also how much damage they actually do as a squad. And yeah, these Sentinels are kind of running away with it. Now, we do have ... was able to at least force Vohlrim off of the contested victory point, but, you know, once there is more support from Inekura here, I think at some point Vohlrim, or rather ... probably going to have to get out of here. I mean, the Strike Squad are trying to charge in. One model goes down on the Strike Squad, and they already have to retreat. Just getting massively kited there. Another great thing about the Sentinels, how great they are at just kiting enemy units, and then again, inflicting that bleed without taking any of their own. Purgation trying to incinerate the Guardsmen. They do get the suppression effect off, but the Inquisitor's going to move in. She's upgraded with the Holy Brazier and the Rosarius. This turns her into a tanky melee hero because you are going to get that effectively an extra 500 hit points from having the Rosarius. It's an energy shield with a 5-to-1 energy to damage to energy conversion ratio. Holy Brazier also giving a 50 power melee DPS weapon. Going to work quite well against the Strike Squad, but in that case, she will find herself getting overwhelmed. Catachan Devils here to kind of cover the approach somewhat, but they're a little bit low on health as well as low on energy. Sentinel also getting low on health, but so is the Demon Hunter. So it's a little bit of back and forth, but the Imperial Guard still holding strong and still having the control over the victory point. How much longer can it last with these double purgations moving out? One purgation already forced off by the Sentinel. So the Sentinels are kind of ruling the battlefield at the moment, but some of them are in need of repairs, and if the Guardsmen are forced off, then the Sentinels will have to get out of here as well. We got one Sentinel actually focusing on the node. I think they should actually focus more on the squads, especially as the Guardsman squad is also going to be in quite a bit of trouble. And although there are 2 Stormtrooper squads still left out here on the field, they realize that they can't move in to capture the victory point, otherwise they will just be harassed by the Sentinels yet again, and just lose models and have to retreat off the field. Brother Captain can't do a whole lot against the Sentinels either, so it's looking pretty strong for our Imperial Guard players out of the gate. And I think just compositionally, the Sentinel is very powerful. It's very much just becoming, you know, I can't take a shot at how many times I say the word Sentinel. Rift Tear will be used there by the Demon Hunter, where he was actually pretty far off screen there. So Rift Tear, baseline ability for the Demon Hunter. It's a channeled area of effect that slows units inside the area by 40%. Sentinel going to be chasing down those Stormtroopers, just putting the pressure on them yet again, while the other Sentinel just runs away from them. Oh my, it's a rough start for our Ordo Malleus players, so it'll certainly be up to see what happens in Tier 2, how they come back into things. I think things like the Rhino as well as the Grey Knight Dreadnought can go a long way to evening things out for our Ordo Malleus players. Also, these Purgation squads upgrading to silencers can also change a few things as well. For now, though, Imperial Guard players still putting the pressure on. They're going to work on the node here. Grenades are being tossed over. I don't know why I say tossed. They're being launched over. Of course, though, we are going to see the Sentinels we're probably going to see some of the Sentinels upgrade to missile launchers. And that will also put quite a bit of pressure on the Stormtroopers as well as the Strike Squad. So the first purchase from our Ordo Malleus player in Tier 2, we're going to have 2 Vindicare Assassins, actually. So Vindicare Assassin, I don't know if I personally feel that's as strong of a choice, but of course, as I'm saying that, we're going to see one Sentinel go down. So Vindicare Assassin actually did make it happen. My concern about the Vindicare Assassin will actually be pretty good against the Sentinel. Can certainly, well, I think it's, well, there it actually killed it, so, you know. It can do damage to the Sentinel. I think something like a Rhino might have been able to put more pressure on a Sentinel, although at the same time, Sentinel could also get a missile launcher and put some pressure back on the Rhino. And there are the silencers going to be taking out the Inquisitor right there. But yeah, one of the issues though I have with the Vindicare, he's certainly not that great against Guardsman squads. Upgrade here from our Demon Hunter. He will have the Force Rod, granting him the Retribution ability, silences damages, and knocks back foes. We also saw that used there previously. Quite a few upgrades on many of our squads here. Grenade launchers, full-on grenade launchers for Hutsy, while we are going to see the plasma guns for Corr. Grenade launchers generally regarded as pretty strong. They do fire actually quite quickly. I also like the plasma guns for their ability. I like the plasma gun ability quite a bit. Plasma guns would make more sense if there were heavy infantry armor or super heavy infantry armor, and we do actually see some Ogrins, so at least for one person, the plasma guns are going to make quite a bit of sense. So some commanders dead for the Imperial Guard, though. We're going to see the revive by Vohlrim, also some upgrades. He's got the sniper rifle. And the sniper rifle is also something that I feel has... I think it's a very powerful weapon upgrade, actually. The weapon by itself is not actually that great, but the fire on my target ability is very powerful. It increases the range of nearby squads, and that is something that can allow you to just win a lot of fights by outranging enemy units and just shooting them when they can't shoot back at you. Alright, so Vindicare Assassin's still taking some shots. He's not going to be doing a whole lot of damage. It's going to be pretty slow, just one model at a time when he does shoot. And we've still got 3 Sentinels alive. Still 2 of Inekura's. It was Vohlrim who dropped his Sentinel. Stormtrooper is also going to be out on the field for our Imperial Guard players. Hotshot lasguns for Inekura's. Ooh, that's going to be a 3rd Sentinel down. But Inekura's, I just realized Inekura's already in Tier 3. What is this going to be? Oh. That was just another cast of Retribution. But anyway, big fight going on right here. We do have the Ogrins getting into melee, looking to wipe the Purgation Squad. The Ogrins were also slowed down a little bit by the Plasma Overcharge. Imperium Brain Mine's also going to be thrown down by the Demon Hunter, but they're also detected by the Catachan Devils, so they probably will just be detonated. Okay, Old Reliable going to knock down the Purgation Squad, as we do have a few units moving up for Inekura. So much damage going on to that Purgation Squad. Lead model gets taken down before it can open fire. And that is also the Purgation Squad using their rending ability. That is when you see the color of the ammunition change to red, and that does increased damage to commanders. By default, the color is blue. So slow range fights out of all our players. Manticore coming out for Vohlrim. What is Inekura waiting for? He's in Tier 3. Hasn't bought a whole lot, aside from just the Stormtroopers, once he got to Tier 2. So our Ordo Malleus players seem to come back into this just a little bit. And they've actually only gotten the Vindicare Assassins. A little surprised to see no Rhino and no Grey Knight Dreadnought, both of which I think can be very, very powerful. Rhino, I think, is just generally quite powerful. When you upgrade it to a heavy bolter, you have a vehicle that does 80 DPS, which is a fantastic number. Dreadnought is something that I think is more specifically good against Imperial Guard. And I think it's pretty good in team games. Specifically, I'm specifically thinking of the Plasma Cannon upgrade on the Dreadnought. Alright, Vindicare Assassin going to be chased down. And Hutsy apparently losing a few squads. He's actually down pretty low, and now he's getting a Dreadnought, so coming in a little bit late, but we will eventually see that Grey Knight Dreadnought, and I do personally expect it to be a Plasma Cannon Dreadnought. Your other choices being you can make it full-on melee, you can get a melt-a-gun. There's one other thing that I'm forgetting. Multi-melted, technically, not just melt-a-gun. Fire on my target is used, so they're going to be shooting. I mean, they're shooting from such a long range. They can even just move back and get out of the range of the Purgation Squad, and especially with a Commissar Flare there. I mean, that Grey Knight army or that Ordo Malleus army actually does not stand a chance. So this Manticore, I don't know if it actually shot there. I thought I heard the Manticore sound. Yeah, Plasma Cannon Dreadnought right out of the gate. And as someone pointed out to me in a recent cast, and as I recently learned, this Plasma Cannon Dreadnought is actually not capable of fighting in melee because, of course, you know, the claw was removed. Oh, man. Nice Plasma Cannon hit there. And if you try to tie up the Grey Knight Dreadnought in melee when it has a Plasma Cannon, it will actually not fight back at all to the squad that's tying it up in melee, which is actually very interesting. There are a lot of interesting implications to that. So that means that you can actually attack you know, a Grey Knight Dreadnought with a melee squad and really put a lot of pressure on it. Even a melee squad that you might not normally think of as being good against vehicles, such as, say, Sluggers. And you could actually put pressure on a Dreadnought with, like a Grey Knight Dreadnought with a Slugger squad because it won't actually fire. All right, Inekura just going straight for the Baneblade.
Strategic point spotted here.
So I do feel our Grey Knight players kind of stabilizing, or rather Ordo Malleus kind of stabilizing from their Tier 1. where it felt like they were really on the back foot. Like, they never really suffered any huge losses. And that's one of the things about the Sentinel. As strong as it is, especially early on in the game, the Sentinel is not really a huge playmaker. But here's a Manticore Strike. That's a playmaker. Going to hit that Grey Knight Dreadnought. It does chunk it down to about 60% of its health. Yeah, those early Sentinels, not really huge playmakers, but they do just kind of steadily and consistently win you much of the early game, as long as you don't lose it entirely. This Vindicator Assassin actually taking cover in all of these craters that have been just blown up onto the ground. So that is why he is infiltrated. He passively infiltrates when he is in cover. That should be a squad going down there, I think. Yeah, I mean, there's just so much to go through. So full upgrades on our Demon Hunter, some of which I haven't even really seen that much. Yeah, I mean, I've actually... Demon Hunter is just so rare. So very interesting upgrades, though. The Imperium Rain Mines I've seen. And I like that upgrade. It just, you launch an array of mines, which is nice for just like kind of area control. Force Rod, we've seen that Retribution ability used. And then the Banishing Cloak is one that I have never seen, actually. Cripples and weakens enemy vehicles. I believe it does make vehicles take an increased 30% damage. Now, the Plasma Cannon shot goes in, but the Grey Knight Dreadnought certainly needs to be really careful here. And as much as I was talking about how you can attack this thing in melee, you can also get the Maelstrom upgrade on the Grey Knight Dreadnought, and that will give it some defense against melee squads. I think here, though, I think Maelstrom has been baited out, so now the Ogrins can actually just go in here kind of for free and just chase it. Only problem is that, of course, at some point, it will be able to get into base. Looks like that was also a close-range grenade launcher barrage that did knock over the Ogrins, as they now also eat a few more Plasma Cannon shots. And I hear the sound of a Baneblade. I heard the sound of its cannon going off from very long range. Terminator's going to be out for ... And my god, ... also has so much... He has so many resources. What chances are what's probably happening, though, ... is pretty low on... he's kind of low-ish on power. Otherwise, we might see something else out of him. He's certainly got plenty of red, though. Yeah, we've got quite a bit of red. We could be looking at orbitals coming out of our Ordo Malleus players in, I'd say, 1-2 minutes. Depending on how quickly they get into their next set of engagements. Probably a little bit longer. We see it's pretty passive right now, and they'll probably all have to fight at least one more engagement before they have the red to use an orbital bombardment. Hutsy might actually be able to get enough red in the middle of one engagement and then use the orbital bombardment. But it's also looking like, yeah, he's going to have to retreat his Demon Hunter, and that's just something the Demon Hunter didn't really have much business just wandering around there and fighting by himself. All right, the Ordo Malleus, however, grouping up on the point, looking ready to move in. The Vindicator Assassins have done well enough, and they are just actually putting some pressure on this Baneblade from long range. Conversion Beam are also going to put pressure on it as well. So this Baneblade actually has a lot of damage that it needs to respect. And actually all of that firepower coming out of the Vindicator Assassins as well as the Conversion Beamer, that's enough to move the Imperial Guard players long enough that we will see a decap, but the Brother Captain takes so much damage. The risk going down. My god, these Paladins appearing out of nowhere apparently, and they might just finish off the Manticore. They do. That's such a nice play. Oh, but they'll also be hit by the Excruciators. That might be another Manticore strike. This one is from Inekura himself. This is a guaranteed combo. It doesn't finish off the Terminators, but man, did it do a lot of damage here. Luckily for them, they do have a teleport, but they won't get out of there before one model goes down. Man, Baneblade continuing to shoot at it, but of course they don't have much health. I actually think the Guardsmen should have pursued. These Paladins might still be dead. This is actually kind of crazy. If the Guardsmen had continued shooting, these Paladins would 100% have been dead. As it is, I think they'll get out of there alive just barely with a single model because the Inquisitor will not be able to complete that kill. In fact, the Inquisitor herself will go down, which is actually not that great at this point in time, and this is actually looking pretty monka for the Imperial Guard now. I'm looking at it, and I'm kind of like, where did their units go? How did things kind of really get in favor of the Ordo Malleus? And the Ordo Malleus certainly have a lot of victory points to make up, but for the moment, they've got the control. So we're seeing some upgrades. Brother Captain gets his first upgrade, the Nemesis Demon Hammer, which is... That's honestly kind of a strange one. I think it's going to be a little bit hard for him, especially if that's the only upgrade. He's going to take so much damage on approach. It's going to be hard for him to really get too much value out of that unless he's just allowed to. Looks like he might even just use it right now. There it is. And hits nothing. So not realizing the value out of that ability just yet. But they're moving in here. That's going to be a Demolisher Cannon shot, though, on the Paladins. Rather, the Terminators as well as the Brother Captain. Brother Captain is gone. This is double Paladins moving in. We're seeing a Manticore Strike. Manticore Strike is also not hitting much at all. So we do have the Ordo Malleus moving back, but I mean, they've got this big firing line of Purgations as well as other Purgations. Purgations with Conversion Beamers and Purgations with Silencers, as well as some Vindicare Assassins. Here's actually just another Purgation, the double Vindicare Assassin. It's actually incredibly difficult for the Baneblade to move in here. The Baneblade... I mean, what they need at this point... Alright, they're getting a second Baneblade. Second Baneblade. This might be the end of this Sentinel. There are actually so many setup teams for the Ordo Malleus. I mean, this is... Yeah, things have actually really turned around in favor of the Ordo Malleus for the moment. Okay, so here's what we've got. Vohlrim, he's going to use the rocket run. I was just going to say he could use a rocket run here. Let's see how good it is. It needs to take some of these out. It'll get one. It'll get one. I don't think it got a second. Can't quite tell there. I'm not even sure if that's really enough to move in. There's still so many other squads, but they're going to move in anyway. That's going to be the Excruciators once again on the Paladins. So the Paladins taking huge damage because of that. Conversion Beamers shooting from multiple directions as Ogryns charge on in, trying to chase down the Paladins. Paladins pretty low on health, but I think a model did teleport out of there. I'm not actually sure. There is one more model that's still here. The Ogryns might actually take out this Paladin. It's getting pretty close, though, but eventually they realize they might go down themselves. They lose two models. And now we are seeing the Leman Russ able to move in here. That was a use of Retribution. But it looks like the Imperial Guard are able to make it back out of here. The rocket run was just about enough to break the line and help them move in. All right, SgtSmith has a second rocket run, and I think... So you don't always see rocket runs that often because Imperial Guard players have several other globals that are quite effective, particularly the Lord General as well as the Commissar. The Commissar Flare, extremely helpful for winning engagements all throughout the game. The Lord General also has the Creeping Barrage, which is also something that can just help you win an engagement. But what we're really looking here from these rocket runs is we don't just... Of course, they're going to need to disrupt a whole big line of enemy setup teams, but they're also looking to get a few wipes. All right, our Ordo Malleus players, they've got to make something happen, but now it's actually going to be extremely tough, so that is why we see the Holy Armor of Titan on this Brother Captain. He pretty much needs to move in pretty soon here, go in, at least get the decap, and he's got the invulnerability, or rather the immortal ability. Oh my god, look at how much damage he takes. I don't know if this is going to be enough. That's going to last 6 seconds. If it is enough, it's just barely, and he might go down in the process. He doesn't get it. The ability wears off. He can't do it. It's not enough. So now... Oh, that is a Hell Fury Strike. So now the double Baneblade actually quite strong here, but here's a rocket run. I think this just seals the game. Second run mostly misses. So the rocket runs haven't been completely on point, but they've been doing enough to make things happen. And it looks like we're going to see the end of this game. I feel like the orbital bombardments are super late. All right, that will be game number 1 going in favor of the Imperial Guard. But we've got more games ahead of us. Game number 2 will take place on Argus Desert Gate. Our first player will be Inekura, and he is still going to be playing as the Inquisitor. Corr, actually, I believe... wait a minute. Yeah, they switched teams. Things have switched around a little bit. Had trouble keeping track of things. He's going to be playing as Lord Commissar. Vohlrim will be playing as the Lord General. Quite a skin this is for the Lord General. Check this out. Hutsy still going to be playing as the Demon Hunter, and we're going to have 2 brother captains played by ... and our second one will be Revs stepping in here. So we'll see how things change a little bit. I kind of personally would like to see some rhinos out. We'll see how that could work for the Ordo Malleus in Game 1. You know, we didn't see any rhinos, and that was something. There was never a need for much anti-vehicle response out of our Imperial Guard players for anti-vehicle in Tier 2. That being said, perhaps our Ordo Malleus players could be concerned about the rhino being a little bit low in terms of health, when you also have to deal with the possibility of a Melt the Stormtrooper squad infiltrating and just blowing you up from behind. That would also necessitate a Inquisitorial Operative purchase when none of our Ordo Malleus players had one in the last game. Anyway, execute going on the guardsmen here, but their line of sight is blocked by the wall, so they weren't shooting just yet. The brother captain a little bit indecisive about what target he wants to go to. The strike squad, not so much. They're just going right after the guardsmen. Sentinel here taking some damage, pretty low, gets a stun on the brother captain. But we're also going to have some Inquisitorial Stormtroopers focusing on the guardsmen from behind. Oh no, Strike Squad down to its last model. No, just kidding, there are 2 models left. Meanwhile, Strike Squad being pretty aggressive this game, so we're seeing the guardsmen having to pull back. Also because, actually, this kind of explains it. Inekura does not have a Sentinel, and, you know, when you don't have a Sentinel, you can't play quite as aggressively. And not that Imperial Guard even has a super aggressive playstyle in Tier 1, but you can, especially if you really can get the advantage with your Sentinel. But if you don't have a Sentinel, then the Strike Squad really can just kind of push up into you and force you back. And I think the best case scenario, if your kiting and splitting is good, you might be able to bleed some models off the Strike Squad and then inflict some economic bleed to them and force them off. It's not quite happening here, and the Blessed Aegis also a good tool for Revs and the Brother Captain in this time, because it just makes the Brother Captain so much harder to deal with. So this is also why we see the heavy weapon team. I feel like if you don't get a Sentinel, I feel like the heavy weapon team is actually pretty important to just prevent your opponent from just running all over you. It's kind of your alternative to the Sentinel. That being said, strong push from the Imperial Guard in this bottom lane by Vohlrim, actually preventing the Ordo Malleus from getting their other natural power. That's pretty influential at this point, the fact that they're not dealing with that at the moment. Instead, we do have our Ordo Malleus players just fighting in the middle. Oh my god, is this going to be a dead Strike Squad? It is. Oh, that's such a rough start for Hutsy. Dead Strike Squad. One of these Imperial Guards squad also getting pretty low, but eventually, you know, Sentinels come in to save the day. Inekura might not have gotten a Sentinel, but Corr and Vohlrim will move in with theirs. And this is actually looking like... I mean, I did feel that the Imperial Guard had the lead in the early game and the last game, but this is actually looking like an even stronger start for them where... Yeah, so we're going to see, once again, same upgrades for the Inquisitor, Holy Brazier, as well as the Rosarius. And actually, this Brother Captain actually just really being dealt with now. Now that we do have this heavy weapon team, the Inquisitor also just using her spells on the Brother Captain. Double Strike Squad. I mean, we don't even have Tomes of Titan on them yet. So, I mean, he really needs to split his units well, otherwise he's going to get the Strike Squad. Both Strike Squads will be suppressed. Brother Captain's going to go in. Okay, heavy weapon team does get disrupted by the Stormtroopers. And that is also going to be the Inquisitor forced off. So well played by Revs there. He will be able to retake this contested victory point. And it also looks like our Ordo Malleus players, and this is going to be Hutsy, retaking the natural power point on the other side of the map. Oh man, look at all these fast guardsmen. That is the grenade launcher upgrade from the Lord General Grant's move, move, move. I've always find it kind of funny. Like, to me, it seems like comically fast how these guardsmen are just charging in like this. They're just charging in. They're charging in a little too fast. They're going in right into the incinerator of the Purgation Squad. Yeah, a little bit late on that. So, Vohlrim getting a little too gung-ho. It's fun, but... All right, he actually does manage to weather the storm, and that stomp from the Sentinel is enough to force Hutsy off again. This is actually a really big problem for the Ordo Malleus. Like, if this continues, unless there's like an equalized generator bash on this side, which there isn't. There's some generator bash, but it's not enough. Looks like, yeah, one generator went down, but, I mean, that's compared to, you know, the red team that just has not had this power farm for pretty much the entire game, and if that goes on, this won't be that long of a game. Ooh, Shotgun Blast will knock over the Strike Squad. Now they'll also have to contend with some power melee shotguns from the Catachan Devils. Catachan Devils, I was going to say, want to look for some force melee against the Purgation Squad, who are moving right into their loving arms, or rather their loving shotguns, with some really pointy barrels at the end that do power melee damage. I actually don't... Okay, the Catachan Devils, I was going to say, they don't need to kite this Brother Captain. Like, they might lose a model, might even lose two, but if they force melee him, they actually will threaten to kill him entirely. Yeah, and just with the way Inekura is pushing up here, I mean, he's pushing up again. So Revs finally has an interceptor squad to try to deal with this, but most of his units are already under strength. His Brother Captain is dead. He can't jump the interceptors in yet. Oh my god, and the heavy weapon team is also so far back. So the problem is also that, like, if he jumps, he needs to not take the bait here by jumping onto all of these guardsmen. I'm worried that he's going to. He's trying to go past. He's trying to find the heavy weapon team because he at least knows that it's there. But the interceptors... Oh, but there's two heavy weapon teams! Oh my god, and the firing arc of the first one, or at least of one of them, it's hard to actually say which one is the first, which one is the second. These interceptors now in huge trouble. Force melee from the Catachan Devils a little bit late, though, so the interceptors actually won't be losing any models. That's actually kind of lucky for Revs, but of course at the same time it's not. And now he's just straight up getting doubled. This is... This game, even though the victory points are not that far apart, this game so far is actually kind of turning out to be a massacre. Alright, at least now Inekura he's going to be forced to move back a little bit. Might even lose the heavy weapon team. Force melee from the Strike Squad, not happening. I think if there was force melee from that Strike Squad, I think that would have been a dead heavy weapon team. Guardsmen getting into the garrison. Need to be super careful, though, with the Purgation coming up behind them. That's going to be a Guardsman squad down. Corr, yeah, there was no reason he should have taken that garrison right there. So, okay, so our Ordo Malleus players holding steady for now. Where are the Purgation, though? Yeah, it's really the Purgation that need to move up here to bash this quickly. One squad of Catachan Devils already moving back out. Needs to make sure it doesn't engage too much in the moment. Grenade, or rather, bunker will be taken by the Ordo Malleus here. Alright, but the issue we have, okay, our Imperial Guard players are very, very far ahead. I mean, the ... is doing the best in terms of not being too far behind. He's at least getting to tier 2 at around the time that Corr is getting a Manticore out. But we've got Hutsy and Revs. They're not in tier 2, and they're not even close. So we're going to see the Vindicator Assassin. I mean, yeah, Vindicator Assassin might just be that anticipation. Here's a Creeping Barrage. Vindicator Assassin might just be that anticipation of that they could be staring down some Chimeras. And what are their intentions? I guess Inekura, he might just be doing the tier 3 rush again. But going for a Chimera would absolutely wreck the Ordo Malleus. But it looks like they're getting absolutely wrecked. In any case, Stomp goes down, does hit those units in retreat. And that's actually just straight up the Concede. So we're not even going to see that game go on any longer. Imperial Guard will go up 2-0 in this series. Game number 3 in our Best of 5 series will take place on Katrin Purification Plant. We are going to have Corr playing as the Lord General. Vohlrim going to be playing as another Lord General. Another very interesting skin that we have in here. And finally, it's going to be Inekura playing as the Inquisitor once again. Their opponents, ... and Revs on a pair of Brother Captains. And Hutsy, well, let's go to ... or Revs. And Hutsy will be playing as the Demon Hunter once again. Alright then. So, our Ordo Malleus players certainly backed up against the ropes here. Need this win, otherwise it will be a quick end to the series. Sentinels are out once again. We don't see Inekura trying to mess around. Oh, actually, I was going to say mess around with the no Sentinel build, even though it did work out for him. Instead, he'll just be going back to the double Sentinel. Well, I mean, if anything, you know, the last time he went for double Sentinel, that game actually ended up lasting a lot longer than the game where he didn't. So who knows? Maybe Sentinels are bad. Just kidding. They're not. All right, Strike Squad moving in here. Sentinel just needs to move back here, and as long as the Sentinel moves back there, it's really not in a huge amount of trouble. The Strike Squad is just the overall DPS of the Strike Squad is not really enough to put a huge amount of pressure on the Sentinel unless it's already pretty low. Banishment goes out from the Strike Squad. Just need some kiting from all these units. Lord General just still working on it. There's no reason to be dropping this many Strike Squad models. In fact, this is close to losing the entire squad. Oh no. Revs, oh, what an oof if he actually loses the squad right there. He does lose it. That being said, the Brother Captain's trying to trade it out. He might get it. He does. That's a pretty big oof as well. I think there's really no reason for either of those units to go down there. That's just both of them being overextended. Oh my god. I really need to... Oh my god, you gotta be crazy. Two before it gets around the line of sight blocker. Like, if that had also gone down, that would have been ridiculous. In terms of just squads and units that should not be dying. All right then. Inquisitorial Stormtroopers, I mean, they're in cover, but they're not going to last too long, even in cover against these double Sentinels. They will just be outshot. So are these Inekura's double Sentinels? Yes, they are. And again, these double Sentinels, they can just put so much pressure. I think they can even be a little bit more aggressive here. I think Inekura's probably think he doesn't have his Inquisitor, but I actually think he doesn't need it that much. He can, and now if they're backing up, he can also just push into the power. And he just needs to focus these two Sentinels on one of the squads. If it's one of the Stormtrooper squads, they will bleed quite fast, but it looks like he's about to get doubled. So now Inekura does need to back up. This is two Ordo Malleus players doubling him. We've got Hutsy as well as ... And now he does not have the repair support to keep up with all the pressure that will be put on his Sentinels. I don't even agree with this cast here. He's just going to get the Inquisitor knocked down. He'll be lucky to not lose the Inquisitor. That is a Holy Pyre, which is just being moved around. I mean, a few units are taking some damage from that, but otherwise not a whole lot of value out of that particular Holy Pyre cast. Meanwhile, Brother Captain is going to find himself in melee with Guardsmen as well as the Lord General again. gets off a nice big special. Revs, meanwhile, has a replacement strike squad. He's got 2 strike squads. Lucky to not lose a model on this one. So players are calling doubles on both sides. However, the double for the Ordo Malleus players does secure a full generator bash. So we are going to see Vohlrim attempting the same thing on the other side. And he's got double Flamer Guardsmen. Not too often that you see this. Will certainly bash the generators quite quickly, as long as they don't get suppressed, which they might actually. One of them is already suppressed. So the Sentinel going in will get the knockdown. We still have a node up, though. And I don't think, yeah, Vohlrim will not be able to get the node. Oh no, he's actually in quite a bit of trouble now. Yeah, he just needs to retreat the Guardsman squad. Sentinel needs to keep moving. Because this is another pretty close call. My god, this might be another one. The Brother Captain, he's just barely not in range. Literally one shot would have finished off the Sentinel. Oh, can this Demon Hunter finish off the Sentinel? No, he won't find it. Heavy weapon team going to be out for Corr. So lost his Sentinel, get a heavy weapon team instead. So it's actually kind of interesting the way we kind of see here how the heavy weapon team... I don't want to say that it serves the same purpose as the Sentinel, but it's definitely filling a gap in that would otherwise be occupied by the Sentinel. So the heavy weapon team giving you that control, it prevents your opponent from advancing too far. And basically it's something that really specifically needs to be dealt with in order to let your opponent continue to advance. Sentinel definitely works in a very different way, as the Sentinel doesn't necessarily stop your approach, but the Sentinel makes it so that you're probably going to get out-traded if you do not manage your engagement correctly. Out-traded, bled, and possibly just forced off. All right, double cap for the Ordo Malleus. This is probably the best they've done in the series so far. It might even really be the first time in the entire series that they've had a victory point lead. Might have been a very... I actually don't think there was even a time in the first game when they had a victory point lead at all. Maybe a very brief time in the second game. When I say very brief time, I mean like very brief time. I mean like opening caps. Grenades going in, though. Knocking that Sentinel down a little bit. Inekura is going to launch out the Holy Pyre. It's just going to have to be a retreat. But here's the flank, though, from Vohlrim. Vohlrim once again with the grenade launchers getting the move, but once again moving the Guardsman in too far. I think he doesn't lose the Guardsman. It's pretty close, though. Oh my god, these Guardsmen could be finished off. Retreat. Why are they not targeting the Guardsmen? One squad might go down anyway. One squad goes down. I think that actually should have been both squads. I think a lot of these squads from our Ordo Malleus players were not targeting Vohlrim's squads. Grenade goes in from one of the stormtroopers, and that will be a retreat here. So Sentinel's still alive for Inekura. Hutsy looking for the decap on this victory point, but realizes he's not going to get it. Once again, we're going to see him upgrade to the Force Rod. Gave him that Retribution ability. Knockback and silence in an area. Oh no, the Sentinel. Alright, so yeah, this is looking like the most even game so far. Actually having a lead for the Ordo Malleus players. They've got bigger armies. They've got Vohlrim taking losses. Ordo Malleus currently bashing this power on this side uncontested. Does look like Vohlrim's going to try to move in. He's going to get one of his Stormtrooper retinue members killed by the Vindicator Assassin. So Vindicator Assassin coming out for ... No other Tier 2 units out of our Ordo Malleus players just yet. Chimera out for Corr. Using that to hold onto control of the contested victory point. All this Sentinel by itself. I'm actually surprised there. Yeah, I feel like... this is actually a time when I feel that now... ... can push in. He's got the Vindicare. He's got a lot of units, but he's actually now going to be attacked from the side by Vohlrim yet again. Vohlrim often coming to the rescue for Inekura. So he will actually take out the full generator farm, ... that is. And meanwhile, this Chimera moving up quite a bit, being pretty brazen right here. Where's the heavy weapon team? I feel like the heavy weapon team, if anything, should be moved up a little bit closer. He's using it just to cover the victory point at the moment, but I feel like it would actually be a little bit more ideal if he uses it to cover the... basically to cover the Chimera. Especially if the Chimera does at some point start to come under some kind of anti-vehicle threat, which hasn't happened yet. Because then he could also be a little bit more aggressive with the Chimera. But, you know, he's being reasonably aggressive right here. And, yeah, the damage coming out of that Chimera is just going to be too much for those Stormtroopers to handle. That'll be an instant retreat from Hutsy. And a lot of pressure being put on the Demon Hunter as well. Full upgrades yet again. Exact same upgrades that we saw in the... I actually forget which game it was, but we saw this exact set of upgrades before. Probably Game 1, because honestly, Game 2 probably didn't last long enough for this many upgrades to come in. Force Rod, Banishing Cloak, and the Empyrean Brain Mines. Strike Squad, yeah, absolutely going to have to get out of there as we now see the Ogrins out of Vohlrim. Wonder if we'll see any other upgrades. One thing that works really, really well when you have Ogrins as the Lord General is to get the Sergeant Retinue member, which I don't think we see here. Trying to look at it real closely. I can't see anything now. So let's stop zooming in. All right, let's take one close look again. He has I think he's got just about everything except the Retinue member. Or except the Sergeant. Yeah, that's the Vox Operator, the Commissar. So, basically, so you can give medkits to the Ogrins. It's actually fantastic with them. So, yeah, that was a nice cast of Holy Pyre right there. Some of the times when Inekura has been doing that, he's been doing that while the Inquisitor has been under fire. At that time, he took advantage of the line of sight blocker right here to get the cast off without actually being pressured. But still didn't matter in the end, and we're not actually seeing great value out of most or any of these Holy Pyres just yet. All right, does look like there's a fight going on right here. We've got some anti-vehicle against this Chimera. This Chimera needs to be super careful. This is not really the direction it wants to go, but it's going to try to get around the firing arc of the Purgation Squad, which, all right, it works. Otherwise, normally driving right into, and especially where are the Guardsmen to repair this? I think you realize, yeah, if the Guardsmen get out, they're not actually one squad. Okay, one squad is inside, I think. Yeah, one's in base. The other one's must be inside. Yeah, it has to be inside. But this does mean this is Corr. He's going to have to give up this position. Yeah, these things need to go. This heavy weapon team. And this Dreadnought, I think, should just take care of the turret at this time. It won't be able to chase down the Chimera. That being said, Imperial Guard players moving in to take the victory point away. The natural victory point away from the Ordo Malleus. Wow, look at the chunking from the Lord General's grenades. I mean, it's just the nature of grenades. They do some burst damage. It's actually not high DPS. It's more just burst damage. He'll get knocked over again by the Retribution ability from the Demon Hunter right there, as we see. Demon Hunter now just looking to close in for melee. Meanwhile, this Dreadnought, my god, what happened? This Dreadnought just absolutely left out to dry, but it might be able to take down the Stormtroopers before it happens. Oh, we see a missile launcher on this Sentinel. This should be the end of the Dreadnought. The Sentinel does not need to be that close. Right now, the Dreadnought trying to play some games here. This is the silliest fight possible. But that will be the end of the Dreadnought. Dreadnought was honestly, had to be over. Yeah, I mean, if it's that far ahead with no support, absolutely overextended. Revs apparently losing much of his army as well. So our Imperial Guard players taking this game back at the moment.
We could use that requisition point. Sir, we're losing a victory point out there.
Alright, hail of fire coming out of these purgations. Another dreadnought out on the field. This one's going to be for Hutsy. Yet another plasma cannon dreadnought. I do think against Imperial Guard that really is just the choice. That being said, we've got another dreadnought that's isolated behind enemy lines. It does have Maelstrom to protect it somewhat, and it's also still getting nice plasma cannon shots on it, but now it's in trouble. It's just, I mean, it's left out here without support, and it's probably dead. Oh yeah, melt-a-guns from the Lord General, melt-a-guns from the Stormtroopers, and the Ogrins, yeah, 100% dead. So melt-a-guns from the Stormtroopers, those melt-a-guns. I generally feel that this is actually the weapon upgrade you see the least from the Lord General, because I feel the abilities from his other weapons are, in my opinion, quite a bit stronger. Though this one's certainly not bad. Increases weapon rate of fire of nearby infantry. Effectively just a damage increase. Flak Jacket as well to get reduce damage taken. It's interesting to hear people say that IG are nuts. Generally, Imperial Guard not regarded as too strong these days, but I think especially with the Tier 1 with Sentinels, I think there are many ways in which they're well equipped to deal with the Ordo Malleus. Oh, Lord General here for, this is Corr's Lord General. Lost all of his retinue members. Baneblade out for Inekura. He's just been really just beelining for that Baneblade all of these games. Although, well, really actually only the first and the third. Excuse me. I suppose also he actually did get 2 Stormtrooper squads, so it's not like he didn't get anything in Tier 2. Chances are, though, probably got at least one of those Stormtrooper squads from the Stormtrooper Global to get it at a reduced cost. But the Baneblade out here just going to be wrecking. Terminators are out here as well. And some Paladins, in fact. So Paladin's going to be looking for the Guardsmen, one of the primary sources of damage against them. But this Lord General, this is just about a fully upgraded Lord General at this time. I think it literally is. Do we have 2 fully upgraded Lord Generals? No. One of them does not have a full retinue. Vohlrim's has a full retinue, but Corr's does not. That being said, it is the Ordo Malleus who have the victory points for the moment. Double cap in their favor, but they've got a long way to go overall in terms of their victory points. Still over a 200 victory point lead for the Imperial Guard. We're going to have an airdropped Leman Russ coming down for Corr. Meanwhile, we've got Hutsy saying he's stuck in Tier 3, and he went for Purifiers. Purifiers are a purchase that I personally often question.
We are winning this one, sir.
And it's not even that I feel that they are inherently bad, but when you look at the Tier 2 roster for the Imperial Guard, just the other choices offer so much more than what the Purifiers do. And the Purifiers honestly don't offer enough that the Tier 1 infantry squads don't. And not enough of what things like a Rhino or a Grey Knight Dreadnought or even a Terminator Librarian would offer. Empyrean Brain Mines stopping the approach from those backcapping Stormtroopers. Very nice. All right, it looks like it's time for the fight to go down. The Leman Russ just tanking damage here from the Purgation, but is this a rocket run? This is a rocket run, and this rocket run's going to be pretty rough. We'll take out at least one of the Purgations. I feel like the rocket run paths that have been laid down have definitely been very imperfect and a lot of missed opportunities. I think that could have been 2 wiped squads instead of 1 on that rocket run, but in any case, it's still providing the victory for the Imperial Guard. Man, we've got Hutsy going in with the Purifiers. They haven't lost a model just yet, but it's gonna happen eventually. That being said, they're getting a lot done before they will invariably be forced off. I mean, they're definitely outnumbered here. Okay, they might get out of there without losing a single model, which is certainly good for them. No, 1 does go down. Excruciators once again from Inekura, but no... Oh, wait, there is a Inekura to follow this up. This might result in the end of the squad. No, it does manage to teleport out of there. This is also Vohlrim getting caught by an orbital bombardment. One of those guardsman squad, I believe, just went down. No, it was a stormtrooper squad, not a guardsman squad. But nevertheless, it was a squad taken down by that orbital. Lord General does not make it out alive. Man, those Purgation shooting pretty far downrange there. Demolisher cannon shot going in. Does actually catch Inquisitorial Stormtroopers on the periphery of the area of effect. But man, our Ordo Malleus players suffering a lot of losses here. 306 victory points to 95. Hutsy without much of an army at this point. Revs not with much of one either. And Revs, he's going for Purgation. I mean, I guess he's probably just thinking he needs something to start dealing with the armor out of the Imperial Guard. So that's why he's getting some Purgation out on the field instead of, you know, getting like Terminators or something at this point. Might want to be looking at some Paladins, though, honestly. Soon. Of course, he needs to call that in. Actually, I don't think he has the red for that. But he should be able to get it soon. More attempts at backcapping from Inekura, but it is being denied by all these Empyrean brain minds. That's a nice grenade. I think he's thinking that these stormtroopers are around here somewhere, which they are. Hellfears. How did that force a retreat? All right. This has been pretty funny, but I think more interesting things are going on this side. Executioner Leman Russ will absolutely murder this strike squad. Executioner Leman Russ doing a lot of damage, plasma cannon damage, and I think we have a Manticore strike going on somewhere. Can't tell. No, that's actually just the sound of the Bane Blade. I apparently mixed them up. Fully upgraded Brother Captain, Blessed Aegis, Nemesis Force Halberd, as well as the Unending Purge. Looking for sustain here, but it's not going to be enough, I don't think. He is going to be forced off pretty soon as he's about 20% of his hit points, 25, maybe 20, now 20, now less. And another airdrop Leman Russ. Could this one be enough to take down the Brother Captain? No, I don't think so. But it's just a Leman Russ literally dropped behind a Purgation squad. And it does look like our Imperial Guard players getting really close to just closing this out. Oh yeah, we've got the decap here from this Lord General. Is this Vohlrim's? He's going to lose the Lord General, but win the game in the process. So, looks like that will be 3-0, a clean sweep for the Imperial Guard today. That'll be it. I hope you enjoyed it, and have a good night.